So I want to welcome you to our online Doctor of Education in Applied Learning Sciences virtual information session. We are going to cover a lot of content and ultimately hope this will help you to determine if our program is a good fit for you. My name is Rashonda Butler. I am one of the student advocates here at the University of Miami Online Division. If you should decide to apply and are accepted into the program, I will work with you closely through your first year of class to get you acclimated to the online environment. We do have a lot of content to cover tonight and hope that you will find this information useful. Before we get started, we do have a few housekeeping items. We understand that your time is very valuable and we do appreciate you joining us this evening. This session is going to take about 45 minutes. If for any reason you do need to head out or if you're coming in late, don't worry, you're going to be getting a recording of this session. It will be emailed to you later this week. Again, we're going to cover a lot of content tonight with regards to the courses that you'll be taking and the structure. You're going to hear from faculty within the program as well as to alumni. We want to make sure that this session is specifically geared for you. So if there's a specific question that you have for these panelists, you will see a Q and A feature, an A and Q feature at the bottom of your screen. So please utilize that. If you have specific questions with regards to application items or financial aid, be sure to connect with one of our enrollment advisors. The number is listed here. They do look forward to speaking with you on an individual basis and helping you through that process. I'm thrilled to have a fantastic group of panelists joining me today. As far as faculty is concerned, we do have Dr. Soyan An, we have Dr. Jennifer Khan, and we have Dr. Batya Elbaum. And as far as alumni is concerned, we do have Dr. Don Alger and Dr. Kimberly Dinsdale. Thank you all for joining me this evening. I'd like to take a few minutes and have you to introduce yourself. Tell us what you do here at the university. And for alumni, I'd like to know what made you choose the University of Miami, and when did you graduate? And then we'll dive into the questions. So let's start with Dr. Soyan An.
Hi, everybody. I'm Soyan, and I am the professor and program director of Research Measurement Evaluation Program at the School of Education and Human Development, where this EDD program is housed. I'm the vice dean. I am overseeing graduate studies and online programs. That's why I'm here, and I wish I can see you guys in person or through the online soon.
Perfect, thank you. Dr. Elbaum?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm a professor primarily in the Department of Teaching and Learning. My area of specialization is special education, but what I really love to do is design, implement, and evaluate research, and I've conducted research and collaborated with many students over the years doing their PhDs or capstone projects with children, adolescents, and adults, and I really look forward to collaborating with some of you who may join our program.
Perfect. Dr. Khan?
Hi, my name is Jennifer Khan. I'm an assistant professor also in the Department of Teaching and Learning at our School of Education and Human Development. I teach in our Applied Learning Sciences program, and I also serve on the capstone committee project committees and as an advisor. I also teach in our doctoral program, and my area of specialization for my research is in STEM education and learning sciences. So yeah, I hopefully look forward to meeting many of you either in courses or when it comes to the capstone project time.
Thank you. Dr. Dinsdale.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim Dinsdale. I am a principal in Saratoga Union School District in Saratoga, California. I chose the University of Miami because, as most of the people in my cohort knew, It was kind of a dream of mine to go to the University of Miami, probably because I'm born and raised in California and wanted to maybe go as far away as I could, and wasn't able to do that for my undergraduate or my master's degree. But feel so grateful that this program was available and I could finally kind of fulfill that dream. And so, yeah, it was a really wonderful program. And I think we graduated with 2021, May 2021 was our graduation date.
Wow, thank you. Dr. Alger?
Yes, so Kim and I were from the first cohort of this doctoral program in applied learning sciences. And so we're very happy to be the first class and to try it out. So what brought me to the University of Miami, well, a little bit of history is I've always taught at Christian Brother high schools, the De La Salle Christian Brothers, and my field is chemistry. And there was, in 2017, my assignment was changed. It's a matter of obedience, of course. There was a faculty member who left La Salle University and decided not to return. So I was pulled from the high school to teach chemistry at the university. So I just knew that a terminal degree might help my career here on campus. And so I found a program at University of Miami, and I was very happy that I found this program that focused on the learning thing, the lifespan learning, because we have an education department here, and they already take care of a lot of the teaching aspects. So I was very happy to focus on the learning side.
Thank you. Again, thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm going to go ahead and dive right into our first question, which is going to actually be for faculty. Can you tell us a bit about your role within the University of Miami and how you interact with online Doctorate of Education students? Anybody can take that question, faculty.
So I can go first. In terms of the UOnline program, which I helped to design with several other colleagues, I primarily teach the Introduction to Research course and mentor students through the capstone courses. And I really enjoy doing that. And of course, that's very similar in some ways to what I do outside of the UOnline program, which is also mentor doctoral students. So that's my primary role in terms of the UOnline program.
And
Go ahead, Jenny.
yeah, well, my role is very similar to Dr. Alban. So I similarly help in the kind of share in the decision making in terms of trying to make our program continually improve. So I'm meeting with Dr. Alban and other faculty. So that's one of my roles kind of behind the scenes. But in terms of my interactions on a regular basis with students, I have designed and I've taught a variety of courses in the program, from courses on human learning to the design of informal learning environments, supported courses on qualitative methods. But more recently, a lot of my focus has been on supporting and advising students through the capstone project, which is the culmination of the program, where students take a series of courses and engage in most likely a group applied project to design, implement, and then assess learning in a learning environment in a particular context. So really it's courses and then this special capstone process as also described by Dr. Alban.
For me, I'm just similar to what Dr. Alban and Dr. Khan are doing. I'm teaching also quantitative methodology, which is statistics. At the same time, I am doing committee member for capstone projects and chair for capstone projects. At the same time, because of my title of graduate studies and online programs, and I am listening from students and to see if there's anything I can help to improve the process and success of your your journey with us. So I'm behind the scene, but still I'm also supporting you guys as the person for student supporter from the School of Education Human Development. So that's additional role that I'm having it.
Thank you. All right, so this question will be for alumni. Why did you choose the University of Miami for your online doctorate program? What sets this program apart from others you've considered? So, Kimberly? Yeah.
So I really only considered two. To be really honest, I actually had never thought about pursuing a doctorate. And my children went off to college. My last one went off to college, and there I was. My husband said, "Why don't you go get your doctorate?" And something popped up about a school in Southern California, and he said, "I'm going to get you some information about this program." And so when the information came, I said, "Oh, this is okay." And then I said, "I wonder if Miami has a program," because that's where I'd always wanted to go. Went online, and lo and behold, it was their inaugural cohort. So, it's funny how sometimes, you think you know what you need at a time and you get it later in life. What I liked about the Miami program, as opposed to this other, is that a lot of the programs and doctorates are in educational leadership, which is great. And as a principal, I need those skills. But I already had that a little bit with my master's and my administrative credential. This program really focuses on learning sciences, and as a principal, or in my role, I'm in classes every single day, and I have to be able to talk to teachers about what are our students doing, how are our students learning, and what are some best ways to engage students when they're not learning, or what about when they do know it, how are we going to enrich their experiences, and how are we going to create a culture at our school that does that. And I can't say enough of how this program really helped me develop those skills that I'm able to utilize every day.
And Dr. Alger?
About choosing the program, well, so I started the program when I was 54 years old. For us religious, in particular the De La Salle Christian Brothers, pursuing a doctorate or a terminal degree is a reward for a life well lived. So on the one hand, the program was beautifully short, something that I could do before I retired. And on the other hand, when I saw learning sciences, I kind of read up on articles and I figured, wow, this is a beautiful complement to what LaSalle offers, which is teacher preparation. And so I tried it out, and it's really a launch pad to one's life's work. So in my position right now, and I'm sure this could come up in the subsequent questions, but in my position as assistant professor, I became the lead. Now, remember, I'm in the chemistry and biochemistry department, but my terminal degree is not in chemistry. But they value me in the department because I could be of assistance, for instance, in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness initiatives, because one of the courses lends beautifully to that. But anyway, so here's what I realized, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead, that even completing the EdD program is not actually a terminal. It's not the end. I found it to be a launching pad for many myriad areas. That it's an eye-opening experience is what I want to say.
All right, so this one is back to faculty. How is the curriculum designed to help students succeed in real-world scenarios? And what are some of the key skills and learning that this program focuses on? Dr. Elbaum?
I was going to let Dr. Khan talk about more the structure of the program, but what I will say before I turn it over to her is that the fact that we have groups of students select the context in which they would like to implement their design and create a design allow students to have an experience in any of many different contexts which are relevant to them. So I'll just name a few. So for example, we've had students do a project on pet care, one having to do with mental health education, another having to do with faith-based trauma education. And of course, what you might expect would be more prevalent is more school-based kinds of projects, and we've had those too, and in higher education, but the capstone projects are really hugely variable and can address the kinds of populations and contexts that I think our students will be working in when they complete their degree. So there's a lot of flexibility in that regard.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to highlight. And it's not just really even just the capstone. So the program is designed to be adapted to different learning environments. And so most of the courses actually have design projects in which you design things, and so you can practice that experience or you study something. And those, you can apply those projects to your respective context. So maybe it's where you're working, or maybe it's actually another space, like a community space that you're engaged in. And so I think that that aspect, just to reemphasize kind of what Dr. Albom said, really makes the program very relevant. I mean, the idea is that the courses and the projects, and the capstone project in particular, really is something that we really hope it'll have a future, that it just doesn't. So it really is not supposed to be terminal. We hope that students are doing something that really matters for their personal context, personal careers, or whatever it is, the thing that they care about and are involved in. And so I think in that way, our program has applicability to lots of settings, not just in schools, informal environments, workplace environments, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I would just emphasize that in terms of the key skills in learning. The idea is that through our program, through the courses, you kind of will, building on what Dr. Dinsdale said, we really hope you will kind of shift your focus or shift your stance from kind of a traditional instructionist approach, where the emphasis, and this is also building on what Dr. Alger said, the emphasis is on teaching. Now, teaching is important, but here in our program, the way we get to teaching and pedagogy is through an emphasis and a lens that we're thinking about learning. And you'd be amazed in what kinds of new kind of questions or perspectives that kind of shift can just generate. And so what we have our students do is engage in thinking about how people as individuals and groups or as part of a community are learning. And then we ask them to design something that will support individuals or groups or communities or families, whoever, learning. And we ask them to implement that design and evaluate it and possibly revise those kinds of designs based on the assessment of learning. And so those are the kinds of things that you'll gain skills in doing it, if you really engage in our program. That's at least the objective and the goal. And things like this shift, I would say the shift in terms of a focus on learning and design and the assessment of learning and evaluation of learning, all of those, from my perspective, can support innovation in any field, right? Not just improvements in a high school or a higher education context, but really across industries. So hopefully that provides some more background around the structure of the program, those kind of three pillars.
Thank you. As far as alumni is concerned, can you tell us a bit about what your career path has been since graduation, and how this doctorate degree gave you a leg up on your job prospects or job search?
Kim.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. So as I finished the program, I had been teaching and was in the classroom for 15 years. And as soon as I finished the program, I knew that I was ready to leave, though it was hard to leave the classroom, was ready to move into administration. And I was still in Miami, actually, the day after graduation, when I got a job offer for an assistant principal role, which I absolutely loved and was able to really use, as we've been talking about, my capstone project in social and emotional learning, and be able to bring that professional development right into my school setting. After that year, I knew I was ready for more. So I applied and then went and got into a principal position. And in terms of a leg up on my job prospects, I would say having a doctorate helped immensely. Because again, I didn't have a lot of experience in administration. So when I was applying for some of these positions, I was going up against people who had a lot of experience in administration. So I think having that lens from the doctoral perspective really, I think, came out in the interviews, and my, I guess, just my level of understanding of program needs through all of my wonderful classes. And I'm pretty sure that's what helped me secure those very competitive job interviews.
Dr. Azure, anything you want to add? Okay, maybe not.
I think he's frozen. There he is.
Go. Dr. Azure?
Oh, sorry. The trajectory after earning the degree. Initially, nothing, because as a new hire to the university, I was happy to adjunct, but my dean was very interested in what I had completed. So with an established education department professor, he established the De La Salle Institute for Advanced Teaching. And then with my involvement, it morphed to become the De La Salle Institute of Advanced Teaching and Learning. So I'm partnering with that in that regard. The other thing is, I mentioned briefly, I am also affiliated with the university's DEI initiatives. And this came forth one of our courses with a certain Dr. Kibler. And I hope you have her. She's a wonderful, wonderful instructor. And I'm not going to speak too much about that until somebody asks about it. And the other thing, as a religious, I have been drawn in to the Philadelphia Archbishop's Visioning Committee of what Catholic education would look like in 2045. So a lot of interesting things.
So Don, I have a question specifically for you. Did getting your doctorate put you in a financially advantageous position in your career?
Well, that question might be better for somebody else, because as a religious, I really do not see my salary. My salary as a religious goes to the community, and from that, the community sets up a budget for the year. So for a religious, and I'm sorry I can't answer this, the only money that I see every month is a $350 a month stipend. So money is not my interest for pursuing a doctorate.
Understood.
So I know my gross pay, it had come up substantially, but I don't see it.
Thank you. This is back to faculty. How does earning a doctorate of education set our students apart in the current job market? And what does this degree mean to future employers?
Well, I'll just say the cases I'm familiar with in terms of job advancement rather than job procurement are with colleagues, and I do call them colleagues who've done our program, who have administrative or teaching positions in other institutions of higher education. And those individuals, some of whom are from our own university, have seen their careers advance substantially based on their achievement of a doctoral degree. In fact, I would say that was one of, for some folks, the main motivation for doing the program. And then, of course, they were delighted to find out that they really learned a lot doing it. It wasn't simply the title. But in higher education, of course, the doctoral degree is very, very highly valued. So I could speak to that. And perhaps Dr. Khan has other examples outside of the university contexts.
Yeah, so we've had students, right, I think there were we've had many students who there was like a specific promotion that they desired, and that kind of advancement required an EDD. We've also had students who they use the program to transition into another career. We've had a lot of students in this kind of position. So a couple examples are students who have transitioned into educational technology fields, or started their own consulting service. I know there was another graduate who transitioned to museum education after our program. So that was something, and some of these students had these plans before, and other students, they knew they wanted something different than what they were doing. And these opportunities came to them as they were pursuing the programs, as they're taking courses, and they realized, oh, this is now an opportunity that I could pursue. In terms of like general either knowledge bases or achievements or practices that I think students develop in the program that are desirable by employers in general, I think our program do require our students to engage in team science, in group work, which relies on team science, and in any workplace, whether it's higher education, schools, industry, military, you name it, working on a team and making decisions on a team is something, and being able to do that effectively and to collaborate effectively in a way that is you can generate ideas and solutions to problems. I think that's something very valuable, and you get a lot of experience and time to do that in our program. Similarly, there are aspects of our program that are very much aligned with that project management, right? We don't have a dissertation, we have a capstone project, and there are a lot of elements of that project that need to be managed in terms of the successful design, implementation, and evaluation. So these are kinds of general things that I think employers across all industries, look for in candidates for their respective jobs. So I hope that answers kind of the question, but just generally speaking, I think there's just wide-reaching applicability of the content. That would be, I guess, the other element to bring up again, that I think we touched upon earlier. So.
All right, this question is for alumni. Can you talk about your interaction with faculty throughout the program? What level of engagement did you experience with them?
Do you want to start, Dawn?
No, I yield to you.
Okay. So this is where I cannot speak highly enough of the professors at the University of Miami, and I mean everyone we worked with. We talk about, and I think it was in Dr. Kibler's, we learned about a learning theory, or I think it's a psych theory, a self-determination theory, and you're looking for this sense of belonging and this ability to be able to master content and really thrive in an environment. And I have to say, I miss it. It was one of the best experiences I have ever had in my life. The professors could not have been more available, more professional, more caring. We had Dr. Khan for, I think, 2, if not 3 classes. And again, in theory and in design, she helped us through so many of our projects. And Dr. On, I mean, the words cannot express my gratitude for getting me through a doctoral level statistics course. I can't even say it, when that was so out of my comfort zone. And I told her, I said, you and your patients, you have made me a better teacher myself. You reminded me again of what, great teaching. She was available whenever we needed her, and I'm forever indebted. So that was my experience.
All of the above. And as Dr. Elbaum said, it's very encouraging that from the get-go, the professors begin to treat you as colleagues. It becomes official after you pass your defense, but they encourage you to believe that we are budding colleagues, and that's emergent. So that's a very good thing. And it would be perfectly reasonable that in the course of the program, we develop kinships with our professors. I had my favorites, and they became favorites because they were the ones, as Kim said, very attentive, showed caring, demonstrated, I don't want to be emotional about this, but demonstrated flexibility. And this, COVID came along, right? And I was the first succumber to COVID. And that during the program, I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. So the professor said, well, manage what you can. But because of that care, I decided not to take the extension that she gave. Here's why. I knew in my mind that as soon as the course is over and another one begins, I knew that my motivation would wane. So I tried my darndest best to complete 6 weeks of requirements in the last remaining weeks of that semester. And I would like to attribute that to the professor because of what she extended, So that was very good. In addition, during the course of the studies, we just get connected with these experts. I remember getting connected with Dr. Piskarich, who by now is a retired instructional designer. Kim, you remember Dr. Piskarich?
Not offhand, Don, I'm sorry.
I don't even remember what course that was for. But yes, our professors are pathways to more vast networks beyond Miami. And I was very, very happy with that. Yes, Dr. On.
So this is back to faculty. For a busy professional, what are the advantages of completing the online program? Is there any face-to-face requirements? And then how does faculty make themselves accessible for questions and discussion?
Well, various ones of us do it in slightly different ways. So depending on the course, one of the courses I have taught has a combination of synchronous sessions, which are not required because time-wise, there could be times when someone can't, but then we record them, but anyone can show up, have a lively discussion, ask questions. People who can't show up can view the recording, just as this recording will be available to participants afterwards. We have discussion threads, which are a combination of students sharing amongst themselves and sharing with the professor. And I know that some of those conversations have actually spilled over into students' own WhatsApp groups and other groups where they continue the discussions where the professor might not actually be a part of that. But so there's a lot of lively interaction, I think. When it comes to the final courses with the capstone, then we shift generally to meeting with the capstone groups individually. And I know that Dr. Khan has met with her groups multiple times in the course. The last time I taught it, I met with just about every group every single week for at least an hour. And of course, lots of emails in between. So it becomes a very close relationship and collaboration. But even in the earlier courses, I would say that there's quite a bit of interaction, but most of it is asynchronous and email, which can accommodate folks that live as far away as, let's say, the Philippines or China. We have students from all over the world, and sometimes it's just not feasible to collect all of us together across these time zones and different work schedules. So we manage it with all the technological tools at our disposal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the busy professional, the flexibility of the program, I think, is its greatest advantage. I mean, the courses can be intense. 7 weeks goes by very quickly, but you can do the work kind of at your own pace. Right. There are some deadlines you have to keep. So really, but if you, for instance, needed to front load some things, you could do that. A lot of the courses kind of do follow the model that Dr. Alban shared, where there's a weekly office hour or meeting, and for the students who are able to attend synchronously, they do, and for those who can't, they watch the web recording. Almost all the faculty have made themselves, to my knowledge, like if an individual student needed to meet or had a question about something, make themselves available for appointments on a regular basis to support students as needed through whatever particular challenge they're facing. And given whatever the course is, or if it's a capstone process. And yeah, so I think that kind of covers most of the interactions. You do receive typically, like for instance, the courses that I've taught, I give feedback to students, like written feedback on their assignments. And I try to pay, attention and provide a lot of detailed feedback to students to help them improve their work. And it's, that's partly related to the expectations that I think the faculty here have related to the collegiality piece of it. We have high expectations for the students in our programs. So yeah, we expect them to do good work, and they do. They do great work.
Yeah. Thank you. Back to alumni. How did you handle this program as a working adult? Any tips for students in the program to be successful? And then approximately how many hours per week would you say that you spent on this degree?
All right, Dawn, I'll start. Let's see. So you need to be extremely organized. You need to be a self-starter, because the discussions, I think one thing I really gained out of this program is just you need to get started. And there are going to be times you have to start on, you get your assignments, and you may not have an office hour until, say, the following Thursday, and an assignment is due Tuesday. And so sometimes you don't always have all of the answers. And for me, it was really a growth area, because you just had to, I couldn't be a perfectionist anymore. I just had to just dive in and just try and get it done. So that was really a growth area. But being organized, being a self-starter, having trust in yourself that, we're going to get that, we're going to do this, and staying on top of your work. In terms of the hours, I personally would I'd probably read in the morning, work all day, probably work a couple of hours a night, every night. And then on weekends, I say I probably put in about 6 to 7 hours a day, if not more, Saturday and Sunday. And this was all the way through for 3 years. And obviously much more, depending on if it was a design project or your capstone. It's a lot of hours. I don't want to tell anybody that it's not. It's a lot of work, but well worth it, because anything worth doing is putting time into.
I agree wholeheartedly. One manages one's time. At least for those of us in higher ed, we don't work every day, and we don't have a 6-day period, a 6-period day, I should have said. So for me, it worked nicely because there were days that I could just focus on my work for the program. Kim is correct that the amount of work during the 7-week courses is almost predictable. So one could plan the readings, time for reading, time for writing, time for reading, time for writing. But of course, time for a pause, because one has to synthesize all of the information and make sense of it. Make of all of the information one gathers, you make it a coherent whole. So you present it in a discussion or a journal or something. But the good thing is, one does not really have to be a perfectionist, as Kim said, because we throw out our ideas in those discussion boards, and you can count on your peers, your cohort, to give you great feedback. Would you say, Kim?
Oh, absolutely.
And in the process, we begin to self-correct, or if not self-correct, we begin to see other perspectives which we did not have before. But Kim is right. When the time comes for the capstone project, that's a couple of months, not couple, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Kim, I forgot already, maybe 6 months of devotion, of dedication, because I don't remember them, Dr. Khan, Dr. Elbaum, Dr. An, the three aspects of the whole course, and this became apparent to me later. There's always a design aspect, and that's applied in various courses, and there's an implementation aspect, and there's an assessment aspect. It kind of keeps going around. Would you agree, Kim? And I think Dr. Khan mentioned this, some kind of design, different aspects of design, an implementation, and then an assessment in different courses, but we're doing this all the time: design, implementation, assessment. So it becomes a rich repertoire of skills applied differently. And of course, one of our courses was with Dr. West, am I right? Dr. West?
Dr. Weiss.
Yes,
Yeah.
things about the nonprofit sector or the public space, not private industry. But just a well-packaged course, and one would be stretched, as I agree with Kim, in a very condensed package, always designing, always thinking about implementation, and whatever you implement, you assess. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful package. Worked for me.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, faculty, alumni. Thank you all for all that great information. We do have to go ahead and wrap this up for this evening. If you are wanting to apply, we do need your transcripts, your resume, your personal statement, 3 letters of recommendation. If you do plan on using financial aid, we will also need you to submit a FAFSA. Also, the early admissions deadline is going to be Monday, July the 10th. And then thank you again for joining us. There is going to be a $300 deposit fee waiver code that will be applied to your application should you meet that early admissions deadline, which again is Monday, July 10th. There is a QR code at the bottom of your screen that will take you right down to your to the application. So go ahead and start that. Also take note, there is enrollment advisors are available anytime to help you out. So thank you again for joining us. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.